Hello YouTube, Ronan Kazi, Legendary Manning Zoo. Where's Bear? So YouTube, I am not trying to give you nonstop Division 2. I'm trying to have like a cycle where I go through different things. One of the things I do in the background is every Tuesday I'm going to try to play the Division, get my Legendary done, and get my exotics. And when I collect enough, I'll raise my stuff up. So I was trying to get the Roosevelt Island Legendary, but it was Manning. And of course, I love me some Manning National Zoo Legendary. It's hard to scrap. This group got me in right at the end, right? So they've cleared out everything and now they're on the final, which never bodes well. It's not that they can't do it or whatever. It's, just I've been there before. You're in a tough spot. You've maybe been doing this for an hour and you just want to get it done at this point. So I didn't really have enough time to change my build. Normally, I have a Legendary build specifically for Manning National Zoo and for Legendary Tidal Basin. Right now I have my normal Vial Jammer build, which is okay, but you need a little more survivability than what I have dialed into that. So we talked about the last couple videos, have talked about some leadership, what to do with some problems, what to do to get better. Talked about Diablo 4. Maybe don't play it right now. And so that's kind of what I'm working on in the background here. Is I'm looking at what game maybe I'll do something else. Waiting for these games to figure out. The problem with games that are long in the tooth, here's the great thing about Star Wars The Old Republic. Once you kind of quote-unquote beat it, and I'd consider beating it, getting every class to the first story arc, which is like level 50. Everything after that's just gravy. You have to really like the game. Now, I have a character that's level 80 on that, and I'm sure there's other people with alts that are a lot higher. They probably have reams and reams of 80s, but that's eventually when I get to the game, and I'm like, that's probably enough for me. So one of the things we've talked about being successful, doing leadership, running teams, engaging with teams, engaging with your loved ones. This next thing is something I think a lot of people have a problem with. If you're a successful person or you're just starting off on the road to success, perhaps you've had a long-term goal that you've worked your whole life. Now, this can be from anyone that has said, I want to graduate from college. I want to graduate from high school. I want to move into my own apartment. I want to get married. I want to have children. I want to have this position. I want to achieve this. I want to climb Mount Everest. I want to do whatever. You set these goals and you're trying to complete them. On the way to these goals, you have to learn how to set the right, appropriate goals for yourself. I want to land on the moon. Great. It's a reach goal. Probably aren't going to reach it. I want to just wake up tomorrow morning. Too low of a goal. You're going to do that more than likely, hopefully, YouTube. I hope you're waking up tomorrow. Somewhere in the middle, I've talked to you time and time again about bandwidth, that there is a certain bandwidth for things, and that's the same thing with goals. Are you a person that has to complete every single part of a map to erase all the black off a map? Are you a person that can't leave a zone until you've completed every side quest? And it's not monolithic, right? So that doesn't mean you do that on every game. There might be some games that you do that, might be some games you don't. And I don't care what you do. It's whatever your rationale is for that. But once you achieve your goal, there's a tendency for a lot of people, and there's been times in my life when I felt that, where you feel a little bit empty. I accomplished it, now what? Do you take the time to savor you get the goal? Maybe that's the plateau that you were trying to go for, and then you're done going to the next level. Or are you so super ambitious that you can't even stop and smell the flowers and you're on to the next? Thing is, if you're an American football team, you have a game every week. So those are pretty easy to kind of, the timing makes the goal relevance for you. It sets the parameters for the time. I'll talk about the YouTube channel. YouTube says you have, within a year, you have to get X amount of subscribers. So it's not, if it took me 30 years to get 500 subscribers, they might not monetize the channel. So all of these goals have timing components. So when you have a game, is your thing to get the game that you're going to have a level 100 character in Diablo 4? Are you going to get to the highest 1835 in Destiny 2 in the Division? Are you going to get to, you're going to say, I'm going to stop when I get to 5,000 watch level. If I'm playing Baldur's Gate, I get to level 20. In Star Wars Galaxy, I get to level 50. Star Wars Galaxy. Star Wars The Old Republic, I play all the classes to 50, then I'm done with that game. I've played all the stories. There's new stories, but I don't want them. Right? I've seen everything in the universe. This is normally when I ask you to like, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, share, comment when they're working. And so this is a battle that game developers have with the people who play the game. There's several threads, it's multi-threaded, that are happening all at the same time. And this is probably an analogy for other things. One, you're trying to get the most value. If you put down $60 for a game, you want some replayability. If it's a game that does not have a monthly fee on it, then your expectation is how many amount of hours. So how much would you pay to be entertained per hour? If you went to a movie, you're paying maybe nowadays, let's just say $10 to go see a movie for 90 minutes. So you're paying basically, $15 for an hour and a half. So if a game's going to last 20 hours, do you have that math? Would you pay $200 for a game that's going to last 20 hours? I think gaming is a really good value. When I would sell coordinate measuring machines, this is another thing. When am I going to get the return on my investment? So this company is not thinking, I want to buy a coordinate measuring machine. They're thinking, I want to win this job. That's $1 million job that I'm going to get for this company, and I'm going to make parts for this company, my customer, but they have given me a requirement that I have to have a parts check to a certain accuracy, so I need to buy a CMM. So a businessman in their head will do some type of math is, okay, I can pay for part of this out of this job. If I try to recoup the entire cost of the CMM for this one job, I'm not going to make any money. So I got to get a return on investment over 18 months. How long do you expect to use your games? We're still playing the Division, and it's been out for forever. Think about Diablo 4. A lot of people are upset with it, rightly so. And it's not really even been out, 2 months? And a lot of people might be done with it. I got to balance making the game hard enough that you don't get to level 100 and there's enough stuff to do, and release it good, and. But at the same time, those people have to make money. So it's a delicate balance. That's like a game like Valheim. That's why it gets in the news. They didn't a small group of developers made it and it just took off like wildfire. And then maybe they can keep up with, do this, do that, make it a little bit better here and there. But you have to have a good start and beginning. That's like anything that you're doing, any goals you have. I'm going to be in a relationship. If you're honest with yourself, if you're 20 to 30, what are the odds that you're going to marry someone and stay with them for 30 years? So if the goal is to find the person that you're going to meet for the rest of your life, how long are you giving yourself to look for that? If your goal is to climb Mount Everest, there's probably a certain point where you're physically not able to do that. But what if you train so hard that you were in 6 months, you're ready to go, but you financially aren't ready to go, right? So a lot of things in goals, they're multifaceted and you have to take a lot of things into account. Why are we talking about goals? I'm in Manning National Zoo. What are the odds that we're going to complete this? 0.0. Oh, and where's the bear? Did you already see the bear? Don't worry, YouTube. I won't let you down. I think this time in the game I was having like a malfunction. I was off on my keys, like to the left. So I think I typed into the chat one of those things. So in the chat there's like www. That's why I went down twice. So YouTube, setting goals is important. Setting the right goals is important. Setting goals that are attainable are important. Setting goals that are stretch goals are important. And you might not be so formal, but everything, it's setting your expectations. If we back it out into a social setting, what are your expectations for the evening? What are your expectations for the week? What are your expectations for the month? If you have children, that's a really important thing to do because they don't realize what it takes for you to do things for them. They're just oblivious to it. And if they're oblivious to it, that's great because that means they're not worried about, the nuts and bolts. They're just being a kid. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Parent. You might have made a little bit of a brat, but that means they weren't worrying about other things like their physical safety, if they had enough food, et cetera, et cetera. Goal setting is very important. So I would just suggest to you there's something you can strive on each day, each week, each quarter, each semester, whatever your time frame is. You might have longer term goals. It shouldn't strangle you under the weight of these goals. It should be something that helps pull you along during the days. A lot of times people say, I want to get in shape for summer to when I put on my bathing suit. That's the thing that you might start in January and you got 6 months to get it till June. And one of the things that people taught me as I was coming up work was 30, 60, 90 was a really good way to look at things. 30 days is short enough that you can accomplish them. The other thing is, I just did time out here. What type of work do you like to do? There is a certain karmic value to doing labors of just their repeatable. I'm making pizzas and I'm just making pizzas. There's not a lot of diversity in pizzas. You put different toppings, but it doesn't matter. They're all in like 16 little buckets and you're going to pick them out of different buckets, but you're going to arrange them in this wheel and you're putting a certain amount on. So some of all of this is good and there's some type of value to that. Or do you like to not do repetitive work. You like to have long, big things where you get a huge, giant payoff. And are you in the type of job that is what you like to do in that, right? Being a service technician, when I was a service technician, at the end of the day, at the end of the week, you finish a job, right? It's like a soap opera. It's like a sitcom. You're going to be done. At the end of the show, you're done. Mission's completed. Some folks like to be on installs that take like 6 or 7 weeks, and then they look back over their work and they can see this was nothing out something. Something to think about, YouTube. Ronan Kazi signing off. Wait for it. Wait for it. Goodbye.